The winter wind howled across the desolate field, its icy breath slicing through the silence of dawn. Snow, thick and unrelenting, blanketed the ground where the old world met the new, a place where pride, courage, and destiny would soon collide. Captain Elena Volkova stood beside a battered military truck, her breath rising in the frigid air like smoke. The emblem on her shoulder, red, gold, and defiant, caught the faint glimmer of sunrise. Across from her, an American officer tightened her gloves and smirked. "You Russians," she said, her voice sharp and confident, "won't last 3 days out here." Elena turned her head slowly, her gray eyes cold as the wind itself. "We don't count days," she replied. "We count how many we save." The American officer, Major Catherine Hayes, laughed. "Saving? Out here? This is survival, not heroics. You'll learn that soon." Neither woman knew that within 72 hours, one of them would be lying in the snow, lifeless, yet unforgettable. The year was 2037. A multinational peacekeeping force had been sent to the Arctic border zone after a series of mysterious disappearances and infrastructure collapses. Officially, the mission was humanitarian. Unofficially, it was a test of endurance, intelligence, and will. Elena Volkova, a decorated captain in the Russian Federation's Rapid Response Division, had been chosen to lead her unit. Her reputation was built not only on tactical brilliance but also on compassion, a quality rare in war zones. Catherine Hayes, the U.S. officer assigned as Joint Commander, had a different kind of record. Ruthless efficiency, top scores in strategy simulations, and zero tolerance for sentiment. Where Elena saw people, Catherine saw assets. Where Elena sought unity, Catherine demanded obedience. They were forced to work together. And that was the beginning of the storm. The base camp was a labyrinth of steel and frost. Communication towers hummed weakly in the blizzard. Supplies came irregularly. Food rations were low. Tension, however, was abundant. "Captain Volkova," Hayes said on the second day, entering the Russian tent without knocking. "Your men are moving too slowly. The southern perimeter still isn't fortified." Elena looked up from the map she was marking with trembling fingers. She hadn't slept in 36 hours. "My men are engineers, not machines. The temperature is -40. Their tools are freezing." "That's an excuse," Hayes snapped. "If we were American troops, it'd already be done." Elena's jaw tightened. "If you were American troops," she said softly, "you'd have left already." The silence that followed was heavier than the snow pressing on the canvas walls. Hayes glared but didn't respond. For the first time, she saw not a rival, but a reflection of her own pride staring back. On the third day, everything went wrong. A distress signal came through the northern ridge, an outpost had gone dark. No communications, no heat signatures, no return signal. The two women were ordered to investigate, leading a joint team through the storm. By midday, visibility dropped to almost nothing. The snow was so thick it seemed alive, swirling and screaming. The sound of boots crunching on ice mixed with the low hum of dying radio frequencies. "Stay close," Elena shouted over the wind. "If you lose sight, fire a flare." Catherine's face was wrapped in frost, her breath sharp. "I can handle a little snow." "Not this snow," Elena muttered. "This place eats arrogance." Hours passed. Then suddenly, a shadow moved in the white. A figure stumbled from the fog, waving frantically before collapsing face-first in the snow. Elena ran forward, kneeling beside him. It was one of the missing men, American uniform, frostbitten and pale. His lips trembled as he tried to speak. "Run, run from here, it's not human." Before Elena could ask more, he went still. Frozen. Gone. Hayes's face drained of color. What the hell did he mean? Elena stood, her instincts sharpening. "It doesn't matter. We move now." They pressed on until they reached the outpost, a structure half buried in snow and silence. The door hung open, swinging in the wind. Inside, lights flickered weakly. Equipment was smashed. There were no bodies, just footprints leading deep into the forest beyond. Tracks, Elena whispered, crouching. Too large to be human. And too many. Hayes raised her rifle. You think it's some local animal? Elena didn't answer. She had seen tracks like this before, once, long ago, in Siberia, when her father was stationed at a secret research facility. They had called it Project Borealis. And they'd promised it was shut down. She knew now, it hadn't been. As night fell, the team took refuge inside the outpost. The wind screamed against the walls. Frost crept like veins along the ceiling. They built a small fire from broken furniture, the flames weak but comforting. Hayes sat across from Elena, her rifle beside her. For the first time, the arrogance was gone from her face. She looked human. Vulnerable. Tell me something, Hayes said, her voice low. Why do you care so much about this mission? You could have stayed home. You have medals, reputation. You don't need to freeze out here. Elena stared into the fire. Because my father died here. They said it was an accident. I don't believe that. I came to find the truth. Hayes looked surprised. And what do you think the truth is? Elena's eyes flicked up, sharp as steel. That your people started something years ago, and it's still alive. Before Hayes could respond, the generator outside sputtered and died. The fire dimmed. Then came the sound. A low growl, guttural and deep, like the earth itself was breathing. Positions. Elena ordered. The walls shook. A metallic shriek echoed as something slammed into the building. Screams erupted. Glass shattered. The door burst open, and a massive silhouette lunged through the snowstorm. Gunfire flashed. Men fell. The creature moved like a shadow, faster than thought, heavier than fear. A hybrid of machine and beast, its eyes glowed with pale blue light. Hayes fired round after round, but it barely flinched. What the hell is that? Elena grabbed a flare gun. Something that should never have existed. She fired. The flare burst in the creature's face, sending it stumbling back. Smoke filled the air. Move! Elena yelled. They escaped through a side hatch, dragging 2 injured soldiers behind them as the building collapsed in flames. They ran through the forest, hearts pounding. Behind them, the creature howled, a sound of pain and rage that echoed for miles. When they finally stopped, they were alone. Only Elena, Hayes, and 1 wounded private remained. They built a small camp under an icy cliff. Hayes's hands trembled as she tried to light the last flare. We won't make it till morning, she whispered. No one's coming. Elena wrapped her coat around the wounded man. We'll make it. Russians last longer than 3 days, remember? Hayes gave a weak smile. You're still holding on to that? Elena looked at her. Some things are worth holding on to. Silence settled between them again, cold but alive. And then Hayes spoke, almost to herself. I used to think strength was about never breaking. Now I see it's about what you do after you break. Elena nodded. Exactly. By morning, the storm had cleared. The horizon glowed pale gold. But the creature was still hunting. They could hear it in the distance, metal dragging against ice, echoing like a heartbeat. Elena checked her weapon. Only 2 bullets left. She turned to Hayes. We end it today. End it? Hayes asked. How? Elena pointed toward the canyon ahead. We lead it there. Explosives from the outpost, if we trigger them at the right time, we can bury it. Hayes looked doubtful. And us? Elena smiled faintly. If it saves others, that's a fair trade. They set the trap. Hayes volunteered to lure the creature in. You've lost too much already, she said. Let me do this. But Elena shook her head. You said we wouldn't last 3 days. Well, it's the 3rd day. Let's prove both of us wrong. When the beast appeared, its roar tore the air